The sun's not even up this morning on day 2, so I don't get as beautiful an image as I'd like. I was going to have the sun coming over my shoulder at the back, but the sun actually comes up on that side. And so this is the start of day 2. This is Robert with Space Age. And yesterday we had some time to speak to a couple of vendors. I did a quick little overview yesterday of some of the people we spoke to. I got a chance to speak to Wolfe Music, and they're doing some interesting things. One of the hardest things to find sometimes is gospel-based, church-based African-American music. And they were able to show me right there at the booth some of the music they had for some of the clients I have. So that is pretty good. I had a good talk with OpenDrive. They are a NAS supplier. They actually do a lot of Hollywood houses. They come in, they bring in their NAS devices for storage. One of the interesting things they talked to me about was moving to a 40 gigabit network. I know 10 gigabit networks are starting to expand, but they were talking about a 40 gig network split out into 10 gig to the desktop. So that's 40 gig fiber from the NAS storage to your main servers, and then 10 gigs to your workstations. So as storage is a huge thing for me and some of my clients, I'm going to look into them a bit more. I spoke to Jesse. His last name is spelled Choquette. I would pronounce that Choquette, but I've been known to mispronounce things before. So let's just stick with Jesse. One of the good things is when I come out to these shows, getting to speak to vendors directly. I had a problem with a Samson product. And one that I bought, I took it out into the field. It was a dual microphone wireless setup. One of the microphones was just fine, and the other microphone just gave me problems. And when you take equipment out into the field, especially when you're doing events, as an AV person, everything rests on you. So you develop a reputation by your equipment, by your service as well, but by your equipment. So when your equipment fails you out in the field, it is a direct reflection on you. But Samsung, direct reflection on them. On the spot, they said, okay, you've had problems with it, we'll replace it. No issues. No long drawn out conversations. Did you do this? Have you tried this? He did say test a couple of things, but then he said, you know what? Just send it in for replacement. I like a company that stands behind their products. So kudos to Samson. I hope I'll be getting back a unit that I can take back out into the field and have great success with it. Now, this one company, I didn't get a chance to go by their booth, but I made sure I got their card. Their card has a 10% off on the back. Their name is Trexo, and they make gimbals. Now, I do have a gimbal, a Feiyutech, and I spoke to them as well. I've experienced a couple of issues with my gimbal, and Feiyutech said they can get that taken care of. But Trexo had a very interesting setup, so I need to go by their booth today and see how much their gimbals cost and how good they will work with my setup. Some of the heavier cameras that I have, will they be able to support it? Okay. Last but not least, I went by the Benro booth. I got an overview on some of gimbals that they have. I didn't know they were coming into the gimbal game, but they had quite a few new ones out there, going from able to support 9 pounds down to some very interesting phone gimbals that fold down into just about nothing. I'm using right now a Benro monopod with tripod legs. I love it. It's great. Benro is another company that replaces their products if you have any issue with it. Seems I'm having a lot of issues with my equipment. But what Benro spoke to me about, I was having a problem with the tripod legs getting loose. And so I was able to speak to one of the developers, and he just told me, if you don't mind, if you wanted to stay on there all the time, which I do, just use a little Loctite and have it hold on to the base with a more permanent solution. I love that idea, and I'm going to do it as soon as I get back. I don't have any Loctite with me, but I'm going to do that because what would happen is when the tripod legs are out and I'm walking around, it would hit against my leg and get loose. It gets loose really easy. So to have that tighten in, just using a little Loctite, perfect solution. Like I said, that's why I love these shows. Being able to get out and speak directly to the manufacturer. There's no waiting on hold. Sometimes you got to wait on a long line, but there's no waiting on hold. There's no getting to someone who has to transfer you to someone who has to transfer you to someone. You get your information right there. That's great. Speaking of mispronunciations, I got a chance to go by the Aperture booth, also see Caleb Pike, a big YouTuber, does some fantastic work. Caleb Pike was doing a talk up there on stage. Aperture lights, that were the first lights that I got. Some of the small, in fact, I'm using one right now. It's the only light in this room. So the Aperture lights I've had for quite a while, but I haven't gotten into any of their bigger lights. I would love to invest in some bigger lights. There's tons of lighting companies out there. Aperture has some really nice lights and light modifiers to develop softer light or Fresnels for spotlights. They have the 120, the 300, just great lights. They came out with a 20 series, really much smaller, great for tripped little rooms like this. So check out Aperture when you get a chance. Anyway, that's it. Moving on to day 2. We hope that we will get to speak to a couple more people. I'll be going by Tascam. And here's hoping you see us soon.